All right, I think we're good to start. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the annual faculty-student debate. Please clap for all the participants. Organized by LSD, what do we call it? LSD, everyone knows it. The Quizzing, Debating, and Writing Club of IIMA. We are grateful to have our professors who accepted our invite to have to debate in this platform. This is our annual initiative to foster faculty-student interactions on topics that are relevant to IIMA. This year's topic is something that you must have heard before entering IIMA, after entering IIMA, and from every IIMA alumnus or a teacher. When we hear what does IIMA stand for, it stands for academics, but is that notion something that stands true to its testament, or it's something that needs modification? So the motion for the House before you is, this House believes that the A in IIMA should not stand for academics. So we'll be following a British parliamentary style of motion. I'll tell you the specifics of the same later onwards, but first I am honored to introduce our speakers for the debate. On side opening government, we have Professor Akshaya Vijayalakshmi. And the student speaker is Jayesh Gaur. On opening opposition, we have Professor Asha Kaul. And the student speaker is Aditya Tripathi. On closing government, we have Professor Vishal Gupta. And the student speaker is Akhilesh Khatuja. And wrapping up the debate on closing opposition, we have Professor Tarun Jain. And the student speaker, Raima Chatterjee. I thank you all for taking out the time for this event. So we'll get started soon. I'll tell you the specifics of how the event will pan out. This is a British parliamentary debate. That means we have 4 teams, 2 for and 2 against. We'll be speaking in a zigzag motion. That means that the opening government's first speaker starts, followed by the opening opposition's first speaker, then the opening government's second speaker, and then the opening opposition's second speaker. Then we move on to the closing half of the debate. So closing government's first speaker will then go on, followed by closing opposition's first speaker, and finally closing government's second speaker and closing opposition's second speaker. The speaking time for everyone is 7 minutes. We will not enforce it very strictly, but we hope that you follow those guidelines. So there's something of a mechanism called a POI, which is teams can ask other teams questions during their speeches. So during the first and the 5th minute of the debate, the government teams can ask the opposition team who is speaking and raise a hand for a POI if you want to ask them a particular question. It is up to the speaker whether they choose to accept that POI or not. And also, please be respectful of the speaker. Don't badger them with POI, something we see happening in competitive debates. But since this is something of an exhibition debate, make sure that it's interactive, make sure that it's fun. With that, I think we're good to start. I request the Prime Minister from the opening government to start with their speech. Here. Also, one disclaimer, we have the voting going on for some PGP students. If you have to vote, you can exit the room when required and join back in again. Please maintain the decorum of the room while the same is going on, and so that this flow of speeches for the participants is not hampered. Thank you so much. I request the opening government to start with their speech. Here.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Not yet? Okay. Should be closer. Yeah. Okay, thanks LSD for having me here. This is the first time I'm doing this. Quite excited to be here. But having said that, and I am saying this on behalf of the other faculty members, we are here to have fun, get a chance to talk to all of you, interact with all of you. That's the purpose. Okay, having got that out of my way, let's get started with today's debate. So the motion is the A in IIMA should not stand for academics. This is an educational institution. Of course, A should stand for academics. But A for academics is a very, very narrow way of looking at things. Academics exists in a context, and the context is what will help us derive value of academics. I propose that A is not only about academics, but something much grander than that. And to understand what it is about, what does IIMA actually, A stand for in IIMA? Ahmedabad. Let's look at Ahmedabad's history and see if we can learn something from it. Ahmedabad is the home for Sabarmati Ashram, the place, one of the significant defining places for the freedom movement of India, Azadi. A is for Azadi. Azadi in thinking, Azadi in defying things, Azadi in being yourself. A classroom is a place where you can be yourself. Thoughts, you can fail with some consequences, of course, but not so significant consequences. An academic institution is a place for Azadi. It should instill the feeling of freedom to be yourself, try new things, and contest things. The second thing about Ahmedabad is, Ahmedabad was known as the Manchester of the East. There are not many mills now, but the spirit remains. The spirit of business remains in Ahmedabad. And anybody who thinks of Ahmedabad, first thing that comes to mind, apart from Dhokla, of course, is business, right? And what does business tell? The second A is about Atmanirbhar. An academic institution is a place which should foster the feeling of trying new things, where you become self-reliant. The biggest thing I learned by going to college is being on my own. Any curveball that life throws at me, I felt confident that I could handle it. It could be work, it could be life, it could be anything. So A in academic, in the second A should be Atmanirbhar. The final A. One of my favorite things about Ahmedabad is, apart from IIMA, of course, is the pineapple ice cream sandwich. Right? Have you guys tried it? If you've not tried it, please go try it. If you've tried it, try it again. Go have it again. Right? What is pineapple ice cream sandwich? It's madness. There is bread, there is pineapple jam, there is pineapple, then there is cheese, there is ice cream, there is some more cheese. And let me tell you, the cheese on this sandwich tastes much better than the cheese on pizza. What is this? This is nothing but avarapan. Madness, right? So the third A should be about avarapan. Any educational institution should instill feelings of azadi, atmanirbhar, and avarapan in the students. Academics can be picked up anywhere. IIM Ahmedabad is the leading institution in the country. We should be the ones doing this. Academics ho jayega. You can pick up anywhere. Most of us picked up our academics during PhD. Right? This is what an institution should be about. A in IIMA should be about Azadi, Atmanirbhar, and Avarapan. And I rest my case. Thanks. How did I come up with this?
Akshaya, that was a very, very interesting perspective that we shared, right? And especially like that concept of avarapan. However, avara ho, do you really think it's going to lead to any kind of real consequences where, we're looking at leaders at the national level? Do you think an avara leader would be a leader who would be able to really take the nation forward? On one side you talk about avarapan, on the other side you talk about atmanirbhar. How do the two go together?
We all need some level of madness to survive this world, right? And it's an educational institution is the place where it's okay. It's the place where you tell students it's okay to defy the norms. You may look crazy. it's not avarapan in the real sense, but when you're going against the norm, when you're going against the grain, you are called crazy, and you are called mad. You are called, that's something is off with you. And an educational institution has to give confidence to the students that if you believe in it, then it's fine. Things will work. So that's the context of our.
So if someone uses their avarapan to really try out LSD, what's your view on that?
Well, like I said, life throws curveballs at you. This is one way to prepare for that. Right? I wouldn't encourage it.
Accept anything, that anything goes, and so academic institutions with their rules and norms and boundaries on behavior are really intruding on people discovering their own pineapple sandwiches, right? And if I come up with any pineapple, I deviant behavior in your is okay, right? Criminal behavior in your view is okay. In your view, it's okay for me to do anything goes because I'm discovering myself, right?
A is also for adults, right? And the adults here exist in the context. A place like IIMA.
Most of my examples pertain to adults.
Yeah.
They're
so
not children.
The rules which apply, the legal rules which apply to the city, to the societal context, will hold true for an educational institution also. The question to ask is, should educational institution apply more rules over and above that? That is something which can be considered, and that's
so
where
smoking is legal. Should we all come to campus to discover our love for tobacco?
Why not? You're adult, right? See, when you are out in the society, you are free to find things that you love, that you're passionate about, that you reject. And educational institution is a safer space to do that. I would say an educational institution if the discussion is largely about trying and failing in doing different kinds of businesses, then that will be the conversation also in the institution. But if we are always trying and enforcing norms about illegal substances or other things, we are doing moral policing, then we are also shifting our energies to something which we shouldn't necessarily do. Let's have the conversation on the aspect which an educational institution is about. The rest, like I said, they are adults. Once they get out of these walls, nobody is going to tell them what is right, what is wrong. This is probably a safer space to do that. But if we are largely using their time to do things which is the purpose of an educational institution, I think that's what they will also be trying and failing at, mostly. Yeah, thanks.
I thank the Prime Minister for their speech. I request the Leader of Opposition to start with this. Here. Panel, what is this debate about? This is about what effect does having primary focus on academics have on the identity of IIMA, and what are the outcomes that come out of it. The clarification that we would like to have from side OG is, or we have from the OG's argument is, they tell you that they want Azadi, Atmanirbharta, but they don't tell you how will that look like in an institute's point of view. That is to say, what is the mandate of an educational institute like IIMA, and will it be served better when you have something like academics as the primary focus, or you have Atmanirbharta and Avarapan as the primary focus of IIMA. What I am telling you is the definition of academics is that you have structured learning and focus on learning and research so that you have intellectual growth. That is the primary focus. So what does primary focus on
academics look like? When I was researching on which B school to join, I was told by all seniors that if you join IIMA, you are going to the place which stands for academics, academic rigor, academic excellence. But what does that mean? Everyone knows that if someone goes to IIMA, they will go through more quizzes, more number of case studies, more number of assignments, more number of group projects than any other graduate from any other B school in this country. This reputation of IIMA is important, and I will prove to you why the benefits that accrue out of this reputation of IIMA is far greater than any of the harms that they have tried to paint on this. The first argument that we are running is on credibility and identity. Understand there are 21 IIMs in India, and each IIM is trying to build an identity of its own. How IIMA for 64 years has built its identity is that it stands for academic excellence. And this is the place where no matter who graduates from here, they have gone through the rigor and they will be able to deliver in situations where such rigor will again be there. What I am telling you is that this identity that we have is important. Why am I telling that? Firstly, the signaling effect that it has during recruitment. All of us might want to be avara, but we also want to get recruited. The signaling that the reputation of IIMA has on our CVs is this. The recruiters know that this student has gone through the rigor. I will take the POI in some time. The B school has already given the rigor that they will be having in their career as well. So the signaling is something which is very important in recruitment. But secondly, it is the only common thread between the alumni of this institute and the current and future batches. Understand this. When the alumni reunions were happening, the thing that we were bonding on was the WAC assignments that they also had to go through, the 100 pages of BRM report that we also had to write and they also had to write. I think this is the only common thread through which these batches are tied together. And this is very important because then again that translates into help in recruitment, help in networking, and help from the alumni to the current batches. And that is something which is very important. The second argument that we are running is that the focus on academics is what will drive future leaders of this country. The mandate of this institute is something that is central in this debate. The mandate of this institute, either they have to prove to you that the mandate of IIMA is to produce the biggest avaras in this world, or we are telling you the mandate of this institute is to produce future leaders of this country, and this is a fact. Now, why do I tell you that the mandate of the institute is better fulfilled on our side of the world? What does the case study method looks like? You are put into different situations and business dilemmas, and you have to come up with what can be the solution to that. And then you are told, okay, you were wrong. The founder also tried this and it did not work. So you are exposed to different situations, and then you know that what works and what does not work. What it means is that in a future leader, what do you want? You want that when they are thrown into uncharted territories, they should be able to respond through structured thinking, which is to say, you can never train an individual to respond in the best way possible for all situations, but you can train them to in a way that how can you think in situations when you don't know anything about the situation. That is something which happens through case study method, and it cannot happen in any other application-based learning. Closing government your POI.
Mr. Speaker, you clearly mentioned, right, there's credibility, identity, and past history, but we are seeing major institutions like Harvard and INSEAD change the curriculum to more experiential and practical purposes. So if the times change, do you believe in changing with the times, or you want to stick to academics?
Yes. This is where the centrality of academics comes into the picture. Harvard is still central to Harvard Business School is academics. They can change the way the structure of academics works, but they do not remove academics and bring in avarapan in their curriculum. That is to say that panel, all that I'm saying is that we will have to prepare the individuals for the rigor of the corporate world. When Raghuram Rajan says that if you survive the term 1 at IIMA, you can survive anything in this world, that is not just a statement. That is a signaling to recruiters, that is a signaling to the future batches of this institute. If you remove the primary focus from academics, they have to deal with the fact that people now know whatever is the counterfactual, either avarapan or atmanirbharta, that is all that the primary identity of IIMA is. Then how do recruiters know what is the quality of the graduates that come out of us? And also we have to they have to tell us how we will be distinctive from other IIMs in the first place. Opening.
So yeah, you said that we are signaling recruiters and telling us that we're the most hardworking people, but we are not just trying to build some managers who will work hard for the company and increase shareholder value, right? We are trying to create leaders at a management college. So why is academics the core focus that's most important?
Because the fundamentals of business leadership and fundamentals of how to make decisions at a leadership level in businesses don't change over time. And academics is the structured way of knowing how you can make decisions when you are at such a position. So when Banga brothers come out of IIMA or startups like MMT or Nykaa from the same system where academics was the central focus come out of IIMA, you will have to defend how if academics was so restrictive and there was no azadi at IIMA, how could these startups come up in the first place? All that we are saying in these, what we'll be doing in the second speech and going forward is we will tell to you how the counterfactual looks like. That is to say, when academics does not remain the central focus of what IIMA is, how the priorities of all the stakeholders in the institute misalign. Because understand this, currently our principle in this argument will be simply this: if something is essential and necessary, that is to say our contention is having academics as the primary focus is necessary for us to fulfill the mandate that IIMA has. If something is necessary, it is legitimate, and we will have to continue to have that as the central focus unless it is not working. Given whatever examples my second speaker will be giving to you on how this system has been working for 64 years and is going to continue to work in the future, there is no reason for it to change. One interesting example with which I would like to end. My friend at FMS has a lot of time. He does not go through these many case studies. That does not mean he does real learning or goes and builds his startup. What he does is he goes to more trips in Himachal Pradesh or Uttarakhand. Your work will expand to fill the time that you have. It does not mean that just because we have a lot of case studies, if we remove the case studies, suddenly a lot of startups will start coming out of IIMA. The nature of human development is such that students will do whatever they are asked to do, and if you have more rigor and if you subject them to more such situations, they will be able to excel, and that is the mandate of IIMA. The mandate of IIMA is better fulfilled on our side. That is why you should be on side opposition.
Honorable Chair, judges and friends, I guarantee you that my speech will be much more fun, will have fewer frameworks and formulas than the last 10-term exams that we had. So firstly, let's try to understand what leader of position is trying to say. You get free time, it's not like startups will keep on coming. I am part of the Entree VC club here. You know, the thing that I heard while being in the club, while talking to the different, the cohort, chair and people there, that do startups in second year because you'll have free time. In the first year, just focus on, getting a good grade, getting a good company so that you get some backup options. Now, why is that there? This is the cream of the country. They want to experiment. A management school is a place to experiment, to try and build new things. It's the place where the failure rate is the lowest. But we are still forcing people to not experiment. Just go ahead, put your head in and give 43 exams in a year, and that will lead to success. I do not believe that. Let's see what IIMA right now is. We are the entrepreneurial powerhouse. We have had 500 plus companies, $26 billion plus funding, and in general we have more startups than any other college in the country that have become unicorns. Now, why has that happened? It's happened because this is the cream of the country. The best brains come to this country. Imagine how much more we can do if we make sure that people are able to experiment, able to try new things. You see, if the current, we are as an IIMA, we are not just a random college, we are the reference point. We are the ones who establish a pattern that other business schools and rather the entire government follows. Because of a heavy focus on exams, the entire country's focus is on just cracking more and more exams. Even there are people who have, before coming to college here, they have cracked exams, and then their focus even after going ahead from college is to crack more exams, maybe going to UPSC, then some more exams, because that's the roadmap we are giving to people. We need to change, because life is not just about cracking exams. If people are able to experiment, people are able to be avara, then they can become entrepreneurs. And I think Tarun Jain sir will agree with me that in economics, in general, having more entrepreneurs and people who would experiment more, that's better for economic growth. As has been said by economists, that's what I learned from the different classes of macroeconomics and microeconomics, that having more, okay, I will take it on later. I will take it later. I will take it later, sir, in a minute. So the point is that if you have more entrepreneurs in society, then it leads to more innovation. Then only our net export rate and every other thing will align and GDP growth will be there. So we need to ensure more innovation here. Yes, sir. What's your POI?
I'm a microeconomist and you're busting out macro concepts, which I have no idea about and I never said. So it has to be a clarified.
Well, that just shows to me that macroeconomics is more important, perhaps, in this context. Because IIMA is not just about your economics as a person, right? IIMA is defining the economics of the entire country.
Don't quote any economics if you're going to say that economics is not important.
No, I'm saying economics is important, the economics of the country is important, and that entire economics is defined by what we do here at IIMA. Because what we do is what's copied in hundreds of more colleges, and that is what will lead to the future of a country. So if we are experimenting more here, we are becoming more awara, then only we can generate more value to the system. And lastly, I think I'd like to add one interesting point, that I have someone who has some work experience, and leader of opposition himself has also 3 years of work experience. He would know that in an actual corporate settings, you're not solving MCQs. You're not doing numericals, right? I mean, if there's a disunity in your team, it's not like you will be solving some numericals and then you'll be saying solution, okay, Rahul and Reena, they were fighting. This is the solution. I think this will work. That's not how life works. In life, academics is not the final solution. And that's why colleges like Harvard and people who are even better, colleges, the Ivy League colleges, they are going ahead with more experiential learnings. Because real life outcomes are not about solving quizzes, exams, numericals. They are about creating true value. And true value will only come when more experiential learning is there, when people are experimenting, people are becoming more awara. People are not just being confined to a specific exam system. This is something I've noticed myself in life, that people who are experimenting more, trying new things, and are not limited by the system are able to achieve more in the long run. That's what I've seen with respect to the entrepreneurs that have come in, even inside institutions. And even the entrepreneurs who are here, they're ready to experiment, let me tell you. But they are confined by this first year focus on academics. So I think if we are allowed to experiment more, I think we'll see much more startups, and our country will of course evolve and come to a much better place. If there are any more POIs, it's fine, we can take it up now.
Thank you so much for all that you all have been talking about. Right? The first thing, that's because you don't focus on academics. Avara doesn't mean whatever you're trying to project. The definition of avara is a vagabond. Do you want to be a vagabond? Is that what you really want to do, and move in a caravan from one place to another place? You had this argument going on with Professor Tarun Jain about microeconomics, macroeconomics. If academics would have been focused on, you would have known that he's focusing on macroeconomics and you are talking about microeconomics. Right. Now, what you all are trying to do right now, you're only talking about entrepreneurs. You have one Dhirubhai Ambani who probably did not go to any of the academic institutions and still made a success. Take a look at Big Basket, take a look at Sugar Cosmetics, take a look at any of the lead entrepreneurs, and you would realize most of them are products of IIMA. I have some data which was given to us by the endowment fund, and you would be surprised to hear that data. In 2020, they report that 1 in 7 CEOs with a management degree from IIMA. And this is the highest number of alumni in the CEO level roles in India's top 500 companies. Some of the CEOs I've taught. I know where they come from, I know what their caliber is, I know what their focus is on academics. Vinita Singh, if you take a look at her, She was one of the toppers, was given the highest salary. Jayesh, I'm looking at you because I'm trying to counter your points. She was the girl who was given the highest salary. She refused. She was confident of her competencies which she developed over here at IIMA. You're talking about experiential learning? What is experiential learning? What? Just one second, let me just... Yeah, tempo mat kharab karo. Yeah, okay. What is experiential learning? And you're talking about the Harvards and all. So what they do is, they would have this experiential learning, post some academics in the classroom, and then they say, hey buddy, go and try it out in the field and see if it works or it doesn't work. Now, the students come back and they say, it's based on our experiential learning that we would like to talk about it. Hey, how do you call it experiential? If you're not able to understand whether it's already there in academics or it's not there in academics. The Prime Minister talked about, the craziness quotient. Thank God you talked about it. I'm so happy about it. Because that's exactly what I teach in class. I say move away. Come on, develop your CQ. Because that's what's going to lead you to success. But then how do you develop your CQ? You develop your CQ by first understanding what is bonded rationality and then breaking through it. You just can't stand up one fine day and say, hey, I'm like Don Quixote, I'm absolutely mad. Go ahead and do that. The world will not accept you. Your parents will not accept you. Society will not accept you. Your company will not accept you. At the end of the day, is that what you are looking for? Yeah, you had a point. You want to go ahead? Yeah, go ahead.
So, our question is, firstly, we talked about Vita's thing, right? It took her several years to start her company. Imagine if she had started her company in year 1, it might be profitable right now. Secondly,
see there,
secondly, you said 1 in 7. It could be much more. We are the number 1 in the country. Why only 1 in 7?
There is, you cannot expect manna from heaven to drop the minute you extend your hand. It takes time. Failures are there. And you need to understand, you need to appreciate. Even with academics, failures have to be there. They are a necessary part of it. They are a necessary part of understanding what academics is all about. They are a necessary part of understanding that today I'm going ahead with my failures, but I have my academic backing, I have the knowledge, I have the information. Tomorrow, I'm confident I'll become successful. I have something to fall back on. But if you're just a vagabond, you're moving from one place to another place. Remote possibilities that you would succeed.
Ma'am, can we understand by your definition what does A for academic stand? Does it stand for rote learning? Is that academics, while let's say the PGP is going for the internships or us doing other form of internships? Is that
non-academic? In IIMA, Akhil, in IIMA, A stands for academics. A stands for academic rigor. A stands for academic excellence. When you're talking about academics, let me just explain it to you, not in the form of a definition that you can Google and you can find out. Let me tell you how things have proceeded, and that's why we are where we are. I was talking to MS Banga. You all would have heard about him. Pyar se logon ne Vindi Banga kehte hain. Right? So he was talking about an incident, so like the way you all behave. Yeah, 8:45 class. Who's going to get up and go for the 8:45 class? Let me just sleep for the last 5 minutes. And he said he was doing that. When suddenly there was a tap on his door. He went and he opened the door. There was a prof standing. And the prof said, aren't you going to come for class today? Yes, that's the truth. That's the story that he narrates. Now this focus on academics. I can see many of you are from first year, hands up. Yes, let me share a secret with you. Let me just share the secret with you. When your first WAC assignment was returned to you, there were a lot of comments on AI, similarity. When the second assignment was submitted to you, the AI similarity had considerably gone down. Why did you do that? Why did you not go ahead with AI? Because you wanted learning to happen, because you wanted academics to gain ground, because you wanted to succeed in trying to understand what is critical thinking all about. How can I make my decision-making power more powerful? Correct me if I'm wrong. I hope it was not by fluke that you all did not correct that. So, if we are to take a look at it, you know what happens when the primary focus is not on academics? What do you think? IIMA will not be at #1 position. Today, if you take a look at all the rankings, you know, I feel so proud about it. Because when you go abroad and they say, hey, you are from IIMA. Yes, of course. You give them a nonchalant look and you move on. Today, you can do that. But not tomorrow, if IIMA is not what it is today. If it is not academic excellence, our AAs who come over here, they get so used to academic rigor, so used to academic excellence, that they perform to the best of their ability and give us the required support.
Ma'am, you mentioned a lot about academics at IIMA. Now, the students that come here are also academically succeeding in school, while the entrepreneurs who succeed also have real life experiences which help them succeed. So what makes you say it's specifically the academic rigor at IIMA which is converting this? And secondly, for whatever entrepreneurs that we see succeeding out of here, there are multiple who don't make it. So do you think it's a problem of correlation or causation over here?
Problem of what and causation?
Correlation or causation?
Correlation and causation. It's all correlation between academics and your success. Right? It cannot be causation. It has to be correlation. Unless there's any kind of correlation between academics and your success, we can't really say that IIMA has created leaders for tomorrow. All the leaders who are there have all been created by IIMA. So if there is some kind of success that you're looking for, if you're looking for some kind of movement, upward movement, the only way in which you can succeed is through academics, some more academics, and still some more academics. Don't let it slip from your fingers. If, even for a fraction of a second, you think academics is not important, you think AI is your friend, you've not been able to develop your perspective. You've not been able to proceed beyond what is essential, what is necessary, what we refer to as skills and other factors essential for success. Time up. Thank you.
So, thank you for members of the opposition. Thank you the leader of the opposition and the deputy leader for bringing in the importance of academics and telling us that A in IIMA stands for academics. I would begin by asking my learned colleagues, what do sleepwalking zombies in the classroom who are burdened by the pressure of academics have to do anything with confidence, making a mark in the industry, who are, by the time they graduate from the institute, by the time they leave these walls, they are burnt out candles, just waiting, counting their days to move out of the campus, and wondering why in the first place we came here. I think we've taken this discussion in a very wrong direction. A in IIMA stands for academics. The leader, the Prime Minister, did mention in her remarks that if this is an academic institute, of course there is academics. But I think one of the things that we need to understand when we say Azadi, Atmanirbhar and Avarapan, it all amounts to actualization. A in IIMA stands for actualization. Are we creating an environment where students come in and they are able to actualize their potential? Let me give you some facts. The World Economic Forum in Future of Job Reports 2025, they mention what are the 5 skills, what are the top skills. Of course, they come out with a list of skills that would be necessary for the next 5 years. Let me read out the top 5 skills according to the World Economic Forum. Analytical thinking, number 1. Resilience and agility, number 2. Leadership and influence, number 3. Creative thinking, number 4. Motivation and self-awareness, number 5. Technical literacy, number 6. AI and big data, number 11. Where are these skills? Where are we teaching these skills to our students? When they're saying come in, you have to go through certain quizzes, you have to sit through. I think, of course, technical skill is important, but to extend it to so far that A is only academics, and I think that's something that we need to consider.
Yeah, you're coming up with all sorts of random lists. I mean, for every set of rankings in this world, you have another set of rankings which shows that technical skills are very important. If you look at the top market cap companies in the world, right, the Googles, the Teslas of the world, all of them are basically technical skill companies, right? I mean, a marketing guy here or OB guy there can be easily replaced. But the technical skills are what makes Google special. The technical skills are what makes Tesla special. I mean,
I would like to, yeah.
You can come up with whatever random list you want. I mean, I can find another one on the internet.
I would give you a counter on the Google example. Google did a project called as Project Oxygen. Their technical skill for their managers was number 8. You can go up, look at the facts. I'm giving you a counter on the... Now, the point is, you see, academics, just by getting people who are in the classroom doesn't prepare them for these skills, which is important for, look at, of course, we know managers are the first ones to be fired. That's a fact. Technical skill would be needed. But who is promoted? McKinsey did a study. 30% of your career skill, 30% of your career success is actually determined by how well can you navigate your relationships in the organization. How well can you lead upwards, not just downwards. How well can you lead sideways. The A in Ahmedabad, A in IIMA should stand for authenticity. Any learning organization, any great organization has to move away from this idea that we all have to fit in. We all have to come in and just go through those motions. I think there is a need to start talking about that we are creating an environment that's inclusive. We are giving a place where people can come in, try out their potential. Today is 29th December, Ratan Tata's birthday. What was his degree? Architecture. If they were to say, well, you have to be an architect. Anand Mahindra, what was his degree? My learned colleague in the opposition gave some facts. Let me just talk about J.R.D. Tata, 50 years of just one point of information. Of course, there could be J.R.D. Tata, his degree, aviation. Jack Ma, BA in literature. The point is,
I love all the POI, right? So I love all those examples you gave. The central qualification of all the Indian examples you gave, J.R.D. Tata, Anand Mahindra, etc., they're all Nepo babies, right? So all of them walked into their jobs thanks to the selected game pool, Gautam, for no other skills.
Sure. Thank you. Gautam Adani, BCom, college dropout. Okay, he was Nepo, not a Nepo. All right. So case in point, let's create a space where a person like Harsha Bhogle can excel in today's day and age. Are we creating a place where people are just moving around these walls, thinking that, well, they have to go through these motions with a lack of sense of purpose? Why did they come here? And the last point, create academics for applied learning. Create projects, create places where students can work. Of course, academics is important, but can we create collaborations? Can we create ways in which people could work together, and of course learn through application of that knowledge? My colleague did mention colleges. Lots of big good colleges today are promoting increasingly experiential learning, small groups. Of course, technical knowledge is important, and it's important. It is useful, but we must also create avenues for applying this knowledge. I do some research on happiness, and I would just share what we know of, and it may be useful for the house to consider, what we know of about happiness and life satisfaction. Let me lay out what evidence and science tells us. Money matters, but only till the extent that you are comfortable. The number, actually I can give it to the house, it's just $8,000 per year. If we convert it into Indian terms, about 8 lakh. If you earn that much, you are fine. After that, money has no correlation with life satisfaction. 50 years, real purchasing power of US actually doubled. Their happiness and life satisfaction levels have actually fallen. Education has no correlation with life satisfaction till the time it can help you achieve that bare minimum of comfort. So then what should be important for our satisfaction? Do you have a romantic relationship in your life? Do you have a rich social network? Do you have freedom to make life choices? Do you have positive emotions? Do you experience that? And very surprisingly, people associated with religion have better life satisfaction. Just a closing remark. I think A has been wrongly understood as academics. We must talk about actualization, and the government believes that in the age of techies, people who will excel are the people who will be great at fuzzy skills, social skills, and that is what we want to set forward.
Very interesting research, but isn't that also part of academics? I would need to understand what exactly by academics.
Yes.
Just 1 minute. So you talked about creativity, you talked about a whole pile of other things. How does a student learn unless he or she has not gone through the process of academics and learns that this is how I need to proceed, and then probably gets into it? Actualization can only take place when I've learned either through the book of knowledge, which could be life, or the real books.
Yeah.
But academics research today, when you stand there and so very confidently talk about your research and what the other people are doing, it's all based on academics. And that's essential. Today, Vishal, you're a name in the outside world. And why are you a name? And I think that would hold for all IIMA faculty, because of the academics. People look up at you and say, hey, you've done that case, though you've not taught it so far. The hit is at you. She's not listening. Yeah, so when you're talking about the faculty, sorry? No, we are not creating managers. We are hoping that they would get into leadership positions.
Okay, I think, you see, one of the things in any such issue is that we generally take a either-or approach. I think what we are proposing as a government is to take an and approach, which is that there is, and I think my esteemed Prime Minister did mention in her remarks, I would repeat again, that if this is an institution, of course academics will be important. Along with academics, we need to talk about, why can't we talk about academics and authenticity? Why can't we talk about academics and actualization? I think that is the point that we need to, it's not a question of debunking, or it is important, but the focus on and believing that just getting students to sit into these classes and getting them to do those quizzes, how many exams, etc., is a recipe for success. We beg to differ. Thank you so much.
So, thank you so much. It's always a little bit intimidating to follow Professor Asha Kaul in any forum, right? So she will always take all the best points. She always makes them. So you're left with the remaining points. I'm more than happy to have that role, by the way, right? I'm more than happy to have the role to be in Asha's wake. So I think she's raised some incredibly important points that I want to emphasize on, right? So the most important point she's made is that of emphasizing the question of what is academics. First, let me rewind a little bit before I start on Asha's points. And I want to get to this point of these avaras and azads on the government benches, right? So they're all sitting over here, randomly thinking, what should I do with my life? And they have no way of figuring out. But fortunately, I think, soon you'll find your path in life. I wish you the best, right? The question is, I'm all for experiential learning. I'm all for you discovering yourself. I have the great pleasure. So what would you do? I have a suggestion for you, right? So if you don't come to business school, you don't sit in these classes, you don't read these cases, you don't have those thick pile of textbooks that you take photos at the end of PGP1, right? What would you do? Here's my suggestion to you. You want to learn how to run a business? Run a vegetable cart. Go outside in 48 degrees weather, and you will learn what sales to consists of. When you end up with 300 rupee profit, perhaps if you're lucky, and therefore that day you will eat. By all means, go and do that. Go to the wholesale vegetable market. Buy fruit from there, watch it rot in front of your eyes, and see your daily earnings go away. You will learn about supply chains. Go door to door, selling on people's houses, and try to sell things. You will learn sales and marketing right there. Right? How many of you are willing to do that? I can go on with this list, but I think you get the point. How many of you are willing to do that? None of you is willing to do that, right? None of you is willing to learn business the real way, the hard way. That's why you come to business school, to short circuit that process, right? Because you want to make it a quicker path up the career ladder. So this is what we do. We come here and say, can we still learn from the experiences of others? We're still logical, sensible, intelligent people, right? We're endowed both by our creators, through our gene pool, through our parents, as well as through our experiences in life with significant capabilities. How should we learn? So we come to business school. We don't want to be randomly just walking around saying, where can I find a pineapple ice cream sandwich? We want to learn, right? So so the point is over here is that we come to the classroom to say, look, can someone help guide me? Can someone help guide me through this journey to put some structure? Has someone thought through this process of what is business, what is management, what is leadership, and help me a little bit along the way so that I'm not walking on the streets trying to figure this out. I'm trying to come to a place where I can learn from the perspective of others, right? So you have a case study, you come, having read the case study, you come to class, right? And then you have your perspective, someone else has their perspective. You're enlightened by that. Oh, this is much faster, much easier way to learn than having to go out on the streets. You can learn from the professors, and maybe that way you can do that as well. You learn things you didn't want to learn. Let me ask the Avara gang over here, how many of you pick up statistics textbooks on Friday night for fun? No one does that. You come to business school so that you're forced to learn statistics, economics, all those horrible subjects which no one actually picks up on themselves, right? So this is what structured thinking consists of. This is what structured education consists of. You learn the things, not only the things that you want to learn and find convenient to learn, but also those things which you don't find convenient to learn, which are tough, which make you miserable. You come to class because you're forced to come to class at 8:45. No one shows up at, if you sleep at 4 or 5 in the morning, no one automatically gets up at 8 a.m. for class. You come because you're forced to. And what do you learn from that perspective? You learn that showing up on time is important. You learn that the rest of the world works at 8:45 in the morning, so you'd better get up there too. So these are all the things that business school teaches you. Academics is just the name we give to all that structured thinking. So no one enjoys communicating well. Everyone types out WhatsApp messages with the least amount of words possible at the fastest rate possible. When you take a WAC course, what do you learn? You learn structured communication. All that knowledge already sat in your head. You're just converting it into better communication skills. That's what you're learning. And you were forced to do that. You were miserable doing that. You talked to alums about how miserable you were. Alums told you how miserable they were. And therefore, you bonded, right? But this is the structured thinking. Yes, you have a point.
So, I'd like to establish We are not against academics. It's just that
You were for the motion of A in academics should not stand for academic. So decide what point you want to make first. I think you're a little bit confused.
we as part of government, we are not against academics.
Although you held for the stand.
A should not just stand, let me complete. A should not just stand for academics. In college, when you are studying all of these things, when I am studying macroeconomics or microeconomics I should also have that opportunity.
Absolutely. So absolutely, he has all the opportunity to experiment, right? I mean, here's a yeah. So he is. So I'm so sorry that he didn't have the opportunity to experiment. He didn't even have the time to show up in LSD debates, right? But but somehow you did. And the fact is that even despite I know your rigorous first year curriculum, which makes time all that very difficult, yet you showed up, right? Yet you showed up because you decided to do something sensible with your time. That's what you did. Academics, it doesn't take up so much time. It really doesn't take up 25 hours a day. It really does not take up 8 days a week. The fact is that IIMA's academics, yes, they're tough. Yes, you take a lot of courses. Yes, you have to read a lot. First is, I'd say that you should be privileged to be in this position. You should be privileged to be able to read so much. You'd be privileged to sit and have these discussions. Because the counterfactual is not that, oh wow, you're going to launch a startup with all the free time that you're going to have. The counterfactual is that you're not going to do anything with that time. So the fact that if you're sitting in a class with 89 other people, the fact that those people have spent their time preparing on a topic, coming here to talk to you, is your privilege. And that's what academics does. It creates that structured focal point in order for everyone to focus on something important. Don't worry about the exams. I always tell students, I have the privilege also of teaching in term 1. And I tell students, don't worry about the exams. The only thing why you're traumatized by the exams is not because of IIMA. You're traumatized because of the exams because you were in 12th not so long ago. And in 12th and college, exams really are traumatic. Here, no one really cares about exams. It's the trauma that you bring upon yourself to make exams important for yourself. If you let go of that, you can focus a lot more on learning. And then you'll be in a much better place. And so these are the suggestions that I have. So, for, having had that privilege, what else could you do with your time? And so, I have my good friends from AFP over here. So IIMA should also stand for IIMA AFP, right? And so here are folks who take a lot of classes, always prepared, always come to class with a happy face, right? And so what is it that they do so special? You know why they have so much time? They even take like extra classes. Some of them sitting in PGP classes. Others have been sitting on extra electives. You know what they have? Or what they don't have in their lives? Answer is, they don't have social media in their lives. Because of their jobs, they're banned from social media. And so what does that create for them? A lot of time, right? A lot of time is not wasted on a lot of things. And so they're much more better, right? Better off. And so they're able to participate much better. So this teaches me something. I say, okay, fine. If students are complaining about lack of time, I wonder how their time is going, right? And so if you can just structure your time better, and I know that you're very good at structuring the time because you're right here in LSD, right? So my sense is that students will be a lot happier and a lot freer to pursue whatever passions they have, including starting billion-dollar unicorn startups right here on IIMA campus and experimenting all the best they can, right? So I think I'm out of time, so thank you very much, and I look forward to all your questions.
Can I use this? Can you use this, right? Audible? Okay. Mihir, you're keeping time? Cool? Yeah, okay. So the motion says the A in IIMA should not stand for academics. I'm going to help everyone in the room out and let's clearly define what this really means. When we say the A in IIMA should not stand for academics. It is our tendency to give, let's say, the highest scorer or the first ranker a gold medal. When we give students awards for making sure 100% attendance is done, when we pick students for the PGP program who get 99.99 percentile, that is what it means to prioritize the A in academics in IIMA. What are we proposing as like closing government, right? We are saying that should not be the focus. And why is that the case? Because education is standardized, and education is something that will be available in general in each and every business school that will be there. So our objective is, how do we stand out not just by focusing on academics? Now, this is what we are trying to address. Should meritocracy, should the ability of a student only be based on the score that they get? Or should there be other metrics that should be involved in this? And that is what we stand for. So I'll take your question a little bit later. So you have to give me some time. I'll take your question. Right? There should be other metrics that should be there. Now, let us take down what has been said by the opposition bench very clearly. Right? One, they talk about this credibility and identity of IIMA, which we completely understand is there. That is worked for 65 years. But what we also need to understand is that education as an industry has also evolved. There is the concept of life projects, concepts of internships, concepts of working directly with, I don't know, like freelancing and whatnot, right? Then there are programs like armed forces programs that are there. There are different kinds of programs that have come up. Why has that happened? Because the education sector has evolved. And the objective of IIMA is not just to be rooted into academics. We have to have the tendency to move with the times. So you can't just keep making an argument saying that just because something worked in the past, we continue. The idea is innovation. We are leaders because we are innovators as well. So that's one thing that doesn't stand, right? Then you talk about like rigor will be coming in and there's a signaling effect. We completely understand, but the signaling effect means quality. It does not mean that this person will always get a 99.9. Let me give you a case on point. When you talk about an example, right? When you keep saying that when we hire someone from IIMA, that means they can handle the analytical rigor. It is your jobs that are there in finance, in analytics, which are hardcore, which require IITians, which require 99.9 percentiles to deal with the analytical rigor. But there are a plethora of roles that are there in creative fields, in other management fields and other positions, which don't need that level of skill, but they need other kinds of skills, which my member has clearly spoken about. The social skills needed, the ability to deal with team members, the ability to deal in a corporate environment when you have clear examples. So you can't keep saying that like the signaling effect is only about academics, right? Because there are other factors at play here. Now, the third thing, right? You talk about there's a structured thinking approach and case study pedagogy, and we understand that. We understand that completely. But here's what the debate is about. It's not about the case study pedagogy being like removed. It is that can this be enriched by, let's say, practical work experience? Can I work with, let's say, a professor in a specific field and gain that experience to actually show in the corporate environment? If that is augmenting it, then you have to understand that the aid for, then that's when the motion stands. That aid should not be standing for academics because there are other factors which can make your experience richer. So that again does not make sense. And this another thing about alumni, wait sir. The other thing about, you talk about alumni. Alumni don't connect on the basis of academics. The ability of students to connect with their fellow classmates during these alumni meets makes them connect. There are people who don't have the social skills to deal with people. And they're the ones. So just having analytical rigor is not enough. You need to be able to develop those social skills, right? Now coming to what ma'am said. Ma'am kept talking about, you know, like founders that are there and how academics is important, which is completely understandable. But ma'am, we also have to understand that just by saying that I don't know, like 2% of 100% IIMA entrepreneurs end up like becoming startup founders. There's a lot of other impacts that are there, ma'am. The fact is when you have IIMA on your brand, there's a networking effect that's there. It signals to people who are like working in the PVC industry. It also is important to understand that they have the education ability before in their school as well. It's also important to consider the fact that they have work experience or they've gone through situations in their life that's helped them become entrepreneurs. So straight away saying that getting an IIMA degree will make you a startup founder does not really work. Now coming back to some important arguments before I'll take your question, so please. So you had a question.
And then, but you started to make this point that, oh, it's not about this. Your colleagues were the first people to talk about A standing for Azadi, Awara. authenticity, Atmanirbhar, all those things. So you have forgotten your own colleagues' arguments, and I just want to point that out.
Not really, sir. I'll tie those in if that's your thing. When we talk about Azadi, Atmanirbharta, we're talking about.
Make sure that there's consistency between what you're saying and what your own colleagues are saying.
I'll get to that. So I'll get to my arguments right after. Okay. Right? Now, what have we clearly spoken about, right? Let's understand that. And this is where the Azadi, the Atmanirbharta, the independence of free thinking experimentation comes in. What is the most important objective of a student coming to IIMA? So, it is to get a job. A very important stakeholder has been ignored in this debate, which is the recruiter. Now, the recruiter does not only need the analytical rigor. The person needs to be able to connect and learn and understand from managers, not have ego clashes with managers, right? The ability to work in a team, right? These are skills that if we continue to only focus on academic rigor, we won't be able to focus on. That is why things are changing now. This is where your independence in thinking, your azadi really comes in, because that needs to be taught, right? But one very important thing which we need to understand from your last speaker, we see doctors, we see lawyers, we see a lot of other people being hired at lower CAT percentiles of the PGP program, at 95, 96 percentile, right? So we have to understand the A and IIMA is already shifting towards diversity. It's already shifting towards other aspects and not just education. So can you all prove to me why it should go back to A for academics, right? Otherwise, everyone would have been hired in a 99.5, 99.9 percentile. There's a specific reason why A itself is moving towards diversity. So please explain to us why that happens. But other than that, even if you look at, let's say, PhD program as an example, ma'am, which is solely based on academics, even there are percentage of students who want to work in corporate, who want to have other social skills necessary to, let's say, negotiate with an HR or speak or convince recruiters to work in an organization. Why is that happening? That's happening because we've completely ignored the most relevant stakeholder here, that IIMA gets its brand because it gets the highest packages, because the corporate recruiters are happy with the quality of students that we get. And academics is not the only way that ensures that. There are these other skills that we're already working on, we're already doing. Sure, go ahead.
Academics, Akhil, is the most important thing. So for instance, when we come to class and we say that, okay, you need to develop social skills, this is how you're supposed to be talking about. I'll give you an example as well. So we say, up to date, this was what was required. But with the change in research, what's happening is now this is what is required. Now, if you do not get academics to class, we cannot really go ahead with it. Let me give you an example, right? And I'm going to talk about my own discipline. There was a time when people used to say, do not maintain eye contact with your seniors when you speak. And you're supposed to stand in front of your seniors with your hands behind your back, and you had to have your head dropped down. But research proved that if you do not look at them directly in the eye, they think that something's gone amiss. Now, if it was not part of academics, probably you would have just gone ahead, keeping your hands behind your back and standing in front of your seniors. Right? So, all that you are talking about skill development, all that you're talking about, should be facilitating the process. I would say, Akhil, at the end of the day, we help you through academics develop a gravitas, which no one can ignore, bypass. It has to be acknowledged, and it comes primarily from academics. All other things you're talking about are at the periphery, but at the core is academics. The rest, like a spoke and hub model, they all spread. Develop your gravitas, and that only gets developed because of acads.
Ma'am, I completely understand. I'll finish the answer and move ahead. Ma'am, so I do get your question that academics are the bedrock of it. And what you have to understand, ma'am, that academics is then the bedrock of every MBA institution in this country, right? And that's the core of everything. But that's not what the debate is about, ma'am. The debate is about do we only focus on the academic aspects, let's say giving gold medals, or let's say giving awards for attendance, or let's say picking 99.9 percentile, or do we look at other aspects as well? And our debate from this end is basically that there are much more important aspects on this side, like skill development, like experiential learning, right? Which, as you see, moving with the times, all the best institutes in this world have also done. So it's about keeping pace. It's about finding that balance. And hence, I don't disagree with academics being at the core of every institution, but I'm saying it's time to shift the focus towards these other things. And IIMA already is doing that.
I'm audible, right? Yeah. All right. Right. So I structure my speech in this way, that first we'll talk about why we want to prove to you that the A in IIMA should stand for academics, right? And then we'll prove to you how side government has totally gone off track in terms of understanding why that the deprioritization of A in academics at an institutional level is actually going to harm IIMA's current standing, right? And then we'll talk about how our opening bench has actually failed to prove to us as to why, if not academics, then is there an other alternate that we have, and we do not have that currently, right? So firstly, we talk about that we talk about there's a causation between academics and IIMA standing, right? Prof spoke about a correlation. That's not the case. We have a causation. Why is that so? Not because of the academics, but the implication that the academics have, right? We talk about the academic rigor, the fact that you're able to, like Professor Tarun spoke about, that there's a certain rigor, there's a certain discipline that somebody goes through when you're bounded by certain rules that this institute mandates on you, right? We also understand that this is what recruiters are looking for, all right? We see that the opening government starts by talking about the 3 A's that they propose, but they fail to establish as to why that is something that cannot go hand in hand with academics, right? Your point was to prove that academics have to be deprioritized at the cost of Avarapan and other things, right? You also spoke about experimentation. I want to understand how IIMA does not give you the scope to experiment, right? This is the best safety net that you can get. There are multiple clubs, multiple opportunities where you can experiment in terms of startups, etc., right? So I don't understand why you have also spoken about academics as a JE coaching where you spoke about MCQs, etc., right? The academic curriculum which is designed, the cases that we study, they don't promote rote learning, which is something that was spoken about. We don't promote rote learning. We talk about how when a case is presented, what kind of thinking that you have to develop. Every management class, like whether it's SM or anything else, ends with there is no right answer. These are the thought processes. Now you decide what is right, what is wrong, right? So there is no academic rote learning which is ingrained into you, right? Secondly, when we talk about experiential learning, when we had the SCEP class of you go on field and collect data and you have the Safe in India project, how many PGP ones actually liked that? Not too many, right? So when there are experiential courses or learnings provided to you, you don't take it up with both hands, right? We are still quite mandated to the fact that we have a case based class which is non-traditional, which is something which is different from any other MBA school that you could go to. Thirdly, we also talk about opposition, speaking about actualization and authenticity. Again, they did not tell us how A for academics actually excludes actualization or authenticity. When you are talking about IIMA standing for something which is beyond academics, you have to understand that that is our differentiating factor. And why is that so? Number one, we also tend to compare ourselves with other B schools, right? When you listen to IMB having a certain work week and they're very chill, etc., the minute you start comparing yourself, then you're like, oh, we shouldn't be so hard on acads, right? But that is something you opted into the minute you chose to come here, right? When you choose to come to a B school, you opt into the process of having an academic, a rigorous academic curriculum, right? And everything else that the last speaker spoke about is completely not exclusive to their side of the house, because those are things that you can learn anywhere. They spoke about social skills and other things. Those are things that you're learning in all your OB classes, right? It is very difficult to promise to a batch of 450 PGP1 students that, oh, we will let you learn how to talk to a manager by letting you talk, by letting you do internship and projects, right? That is why the summer internship is part of our curriculum, so that you get that experiential on-the-job learning for 2 months, and then you come and complete your course. Right? We also talk about who are the stakeholders here, right? The current students, the recruiters, and even the governance in terms of the director, etc. Right? The current students are here. Why? They want a job at the end of this. The IIMA as an institution has been standing for academics. That signals to the recruiters that we have sharp thinking, we're able to critically analyze, and we will do well and learn the MBA skills faster than anyone else, right? The recruiters too have a certain perception that if they're picking up IIMA graduates, they will be different from a graduate from FMS, from ISB, from anywhere else, because of the curriculum that is designed. We have to understand that the curriculum itself lends itself to us developing a certain kind of structured thinking, a certain kind of analytical rigor which is required on the job, right? Thirdly, governance. It is also easy. Everything that is spoken about from the government side is quite fluff, right? They've not told us how they would implement any of this, right? The execution, part of execution on their side of the paradigm is lacking. So for the governance to be able to implement, as I spoke about, changing the curriculum completely in a short span of time is not possible. Secondly, changing the curriculum does not mean that we are shifting the focus from acads. Our next stakeholder here are the profs as well, right? So when you're here, when IIMA is standing for such high standards of quality, we are also attracting great talent in terms of the professors, the A's that come here, right? Why is that so? We also want that our students take acads seriously, because then there's better interaction, there's more cognitive discourse and learning in the classroom, right? We also talk about the alumni. We spoke about alumni not bonding over how tough the acads were. That's true. They don't bond over that. But what they bond over is that a certain legacy has been going on for so many years. If alumni don't want LKP to be broken down, they will definitely not want the A for acads to change, right? They would want that the same curriculum, the same rigorous framework is followed year on year, because they see that year on year also gives us better quality of graduates, better CEOs, better managerial discretion in the future. Next, we also have the new students or prospective students, right? When we look at students who are going to join IIMA in, say, the next 2-3 years, they also want differentiation in the MBA market. What does that mean? If they want a chill life, then they might choose IMB over this, right? But somebody who wants, there are so many people in our own batch who had joined ISB and then left that and came here. Why? Because IIMA is IIMA. And why is IIMA at that position? Something that Prof. Asha Kaul also mentioned, that ACADS is the foundation on which IIMA has set itself at number 1. If we remove that, will that stay? Probably not. Probably not. So the point here is that if we are institutionally deprioritizing ACADS in IIMA, we are replacing that with either Avarapan or authenticity. Is IIMA going to stand or stay true to its image that it has built so far? No. So what is the alternative? There is no alternative at this point, right? Because ultimately this is an MBA program. You are here to learn, as Prof also said, that you are here to accelerate your learning. If there are social skills involved, that protected. You learn other things as well, but those are things the fact that you're able to prioritize or optimize your time effectively is something that you learn because of the rigorous curriculum here. Rest my case. Any questions?
Cool.